yeah, we're gonna go through the dish, the Malaysian ginger and lemongrass curry, and this is a super dish, and it's super for lots of reasons. Actually, it's really easy and quick to make, and it is really Moorish and tasty. It can be adjusted up and down in terms of the heat, so it's curry, but it's very light. It's I mean, I tend to think of curry as Indian curry, and um, Thai curry I don't think of as curry. This is Malaysian. It's obviously not Indian, and yeah, it's a super dish, and so I wanted to go through it now. That's good. So broadly, we're going to use a food processor to make a ginger puree. Now, I want to make a ginger puree because it's better than bought purees. It just is. Even, you know, just pureeing ginger en masse. If you can't be bothered to peel it all, you can get away with leaving it peeled, but wash it. But you can put it in the freezer. It's much nicer. It adds so much more texture and flavour to a dish. So please do consider making the ginger puree. The main problem that we have with a ginger puree being made in a Magimix or some powerful machine is that there isn't very much ginger, and so the machine gets a bit like, oh, I haven't got anything left to do. What will I do? And it spits all the ginger out to the sides of the Magimix. So that's an issue. Doing it en masse is much better, but it's still an issue. So you have to put it in, help it around. It's first blitz with small pieces, so chop it up a bit. Yeah, do chop it up, you know, sort of as much as you can in a way. It does help. And put some water in. That's what the recipe says, and then leave that. You know, if you don't do it for long enough and keep scraping the sides down with, you know, a wooden spoon and caretake it a bit, it ends up furry, and you need to really leave this, I would say, about 10 minutes. I think in the recipe I say 8 to 10, but you know, it's not done till it's done. Your machine will be different than mine. A large frying pan. Now, I have the Scoville ones, a big Le Creuset. You want something like, you know, yeah, you can see that, yo deep and nice and wide. Because you're going to put the ginger down and it's been pureed with water, and you want that water to just disappear as soon as you can. You know, you don't want to crowd the pan. The onion petals are going to go in. Again, you don't want to crowd the pan. You want it all on a single layer so that things can just cook sort of promptly, you know, and aren't stewed. So yeah, nice big pans for things generally. So 500 grams of brown onions. You could swap them with red. I wouldn't, because it's a different colour, and I don't think red going into this is great, and that's why I wouldn't put kidney beans or black beans in it. I just know brown onions is what you need. Chop them, peel them, chop them into petals, and a couple of those fat red chilies, which are very mild but nice for colour. Okay, this isn't a blow your head off job. We've got the pan out, we've got the onion in, we've got the oil in, and it's heating. Please just nice and low, always nice and low, especially when you're doing a new dish. But generally, I think when you're learning, and we're trying to get better at cooking here, aren't we? So, you know, nice and low, and bring the heat up a bit if you think it's a bit sluggish. But to start with, nice and low. Why? Because we're going to put spices in, and we're going to cook the spices, and we're going to then smell the spices. So we're putting the curry powder in, and that is just going to smell really nice. And if the heat is too hot, it's going to just burn them. So nice and low. If you think it's looking a bit dry and awful, add a bit of water, that's okay, but you should be smelling the curry powder. Now then, I make my own curry powder, but you know, perhaps you have a favourite one. Mine is mild, and I can go through that another time. But you know, curry powder's gone in some oil and it's becoming fragrant, and you go, that smells nice. And at that point, we want to add the ginger puree, right? and the water. So again, you need that heat on low, because otherwise that water from with the ginger is going to hit that pan and it's going to go awful. So nice and low. So you've activated the spices, you've put the ginger puree in now, and you're beginning to cook the ginger. So this is the first bit of cooking that matters. This is where flavour comes from. So you're caramelising the ginger, and you're stirring it round, and you're caretaking it, and you're looking, you say, oh, that's looking a bit awful. Oh, that's looking a bit darker. Oh, that's looking a bit better. Oh, I can smell it now, you know. So you're becoming involved with what it is that you're creating. So you're cooking the ginger and the spices together, and it all becomes quite fragrant, and the water from the puree evaporates, and the ginger and the spices become a slightly darker colour, right? And actually what happens is the ginger, just think about it, the ginger mix gets a bit sort of thicker, which is great. And then at that point we want to add the sugar, and so pop it into the middle of the pan, stir the sugar round and stir it in, and then stir it round and round and bigger and bigger and bigger, and so it's all mixed in. And that sugar now on that lower heat will caramelise and will cover the ginger and the spices and caramelise. And again, this is the layer of flavour that's lovely. Okay, so also I've just noted actually on the recipe that you'll hear it now, it'll sound quite different. It's really difficult to describe, but I think it's kind of like a bit crispier. You're just sizzling more than it was before. It's really difficult to describe, but the sound changes when the sugar goes in. So at this point we want to add the onion petals and the sliced chili, and the chilies are in there for heat, for colour. So we put the onion petals into this lovely caramelised mix and we cook them. And it seems at the beginning like it might take quite a long time, but actually it doesn't. And you're wanting them to be softened, you're wanting them to go a little bit translucent, but not like fried onions gone over finished. You know, this method of using onion petals in food really does add some structure. So let's not overcook these, because they are then going to be cooked in the coconut milk as well. So, you know, you just cook them a little bit, you put some salt in with them as well to just protect them and stop them burning, but it's all on a low heat now. You may be tempted to turn it up a little bit. You could do, if you're feeling fine with it, fine, turn it up. Okay, this is the point. So everything's now mixed around. So you've got the onion and the spices and ginger, you mix and sugar, and it's all mixed around, it's all cooking nicely, and it's basically under control. You're protecting all the ingredients nicely, and it's all good. So now is the time to add the lemongrass. Okay, a beautiful flavour, beautiful flavour. I've tried it with lemongrass puree that I've made myself, that I've bought, and then lemongrass as well. I don't think it tastes. It tastes different with lemongrass, but lemongrass isn't always available, and it's pretty ropey as an ingredient. So I went with a pre-made puree on this. It's a very pungent flavour, so don't add too much. And we add the lemongrass puree and we mix it around. Okay. Then you take the stock cubes and you crumble them into that mix, into that pan. And crumble them as, you know, small as you can. No, just sort of like, it's not breaking it in half and throwing it in. You want to crumble it around. Then you add the lemon juice over that crumbled stock, so that breaks it down. And then you start mixing everything again. All right, so you can add the cinnamon at this point and also add the turmeric. So now everything's mixed. So a little bit of cinnamon underneath, I felt it just needed it. You won't taste it, but it just needed that a little bit. Turmeric's been added just for the colour. So we've got our stock in now, and it's time to add the coconut milk. And add the coconut milk and stir it all around, and then get it simmering. You see mine on Facebook maybe, you know, the gentle simmer, and then that's it, we're done basically. You need to leave it. So at this point now you can open your can of chickpeas, you can get your cauliflower chunks ready, and then when everything and the sauce is all finished, you can add those 2 ingredients. Now, you want that sauce to be finished, and you want it to be nice and thick before you add the other 2 things. You know, you're putting the chickpeas in to heat up. The cauliflower's been steamed, and so that's going in to heat up. You know, these things don't need to go, you know, be in for ages. It's just heating them up. And don't add them at all if you're making this on Thursday to have on Friday. You could get away without using chickpeas in this, but you know, then you've got your protein question, so that would have to be a separate dish, wouldn't it? So for ease, I'd get your protein, you know, addition into the main. So the sauce is thickening, and it took about 8 minutes, 10 minutes for me, something like that. It wasn't 5, it wasn't 10. It just suddenly simmered down. It's nice and thick. I lifted a spoon out, turned the spoon over, and it coats the back of the spoon. So yeah, that's a way of telling. Some people like things looser, some people like things really thickened up, you know, so it is personal sort of taste on that, I think. Also, how quickly it condenses down or reduces down, rather, depends on ventilation in the room, temperature where you live, overall humidity levels, doors and windows open, have you got a decent extractor on, you know, all affects everything. So it's hard for me to say, but you know, just, you know, when it looks a bit thin and rubbishy, so just wait, you know, and print off the recipe and just note down, oh, it's about 10 minutes to do that, you know. But when you're waiting for this sauce to be reduced, you know, you're getting your cauliflower sorted, and you're getting your rice sorted, and you're getting your chickpeas drained and rinsed, and you know, and then those 2 things can just be added and heated up for a few minutes when you're happy with the sauce. Yeah, so serve on rice, top it with fresh coriander and some lemon wedges. I kind of pan fried some lemon wedges, put a little bit of sugar in there, a little bit of oil, and pan fry some lemon wedges, and that softened them and caramelized them nicely, actually, and that's a nice addition. And then in the end, what I did was like chop them up and then stirred them through, and I just loved that. I mean, it's like a preserved lemon kind of flavour, but not as sort of pungent or astringent as that. So I really like that. Rice, you know, if you can't cook rice, there is a course inside the membership for cooking rice. It's quite easy. So if you had, think of a small mug, a mug of rice, pan, then 2 of those in water, cook, done. You know, people do struggle with rice. I do think more expensive rice is easier to cook than cheaper rice. Cheaper rice is always hyper starchy, can be really sticky. Yeah, so a standard portion is between 50 and 75 grams of rice. You can make ahead, so finish it to the, you know, the sauce before the additions go in. Sit perfectly happy. My favourite way to eat, yes, of course, on rice. It's rich, you know, it is, and I think it needs the rice underneath there to the side of that. You know, lots of fresh lemon zest would be nice on it, or caramelized lemon, or if things go wrong, so if you burn the onions, throw them away broadly, just get rid of them and do them again. If you kind of have it all cooking, you go out the room, you get delayed, and you come back and it's stuck. If it's been cooked on gas, you may rescue that. I think it's just a slightly kinder burn. If it's just on electric, that is often very black and stuck. But whatever you, well, with gas, if I sort of feel like anything's caught, I just let it sit, and then normally I can rescue it. If it's totally charred, I turn it upside down into a new pan to see if anything falls out, to be honest. And if anything falls out, I go from there. Yeah, I mean, if you walk in the kitchen, you can smell that burning, that burner's flavour smell has gone through the food, so that's probably a start again job. Soggy vegetables, yeah, so I'm just going to come back to the additions, but soggy vegetables are just so unpleasant, and I think especially in plant-based and vegan food, I think it's a no. Because where are you getting your texture from? Where are you getting your chew and biting sensation from? You know, vegetables have got to have some integrity. So, you know, making an effort to steam vegetables so they're slightly under, you know, is a good thing. So the additions are Steamed cauliflower is good because it's square, it's chunky, it's got texture, and I think it's the right colour. Broccoli would sub for that. Green beans, I think I'd probably just steam them off, would I? Or I'd put them in. I don't think they're the right thing for it, and plus they're going to be release a little bit of water, so I'm not sure I'd bother with that. They'd have to be chopped up, I think, you know, to be 1.5 inches long, so I'm not so sure about green beans. Let's just think. Peas would go well, but then if you've added something like chickpeas and then you're putting green peas in, it's all a bit sort of samey. And again, it's all about the texture, isn't it? So I try to get something big in there, cauliflower or broccoli, and then add smaller things in the form of pulses. You could roast squash and oven roast it, you know, in chunks. I would probably keep the skin on for a bit more texture, but oven roast that. You could do that day before or something, and then put that in to heat up. That would be nice texturally, but you know, don't overcook it. It's like its name gives people the idea that it needs to be squashed. You know what I mean? I used to overcook it when I first stopped going, and then I started having it a little bit firmer. It's just a revelation, actually. But squash is sweet, and we've put some sugar in the dish, so you know, I'm not so sure I'd use squash. I might have to balance the squash with a little bit more lemon juice. So, you know, these are the things I'm sort of thinking about. Now, in terms of the pulses, I wouldn't use, or beans, or, you know, that side of things. I wouldn't use kidney beans, and I wouldn't use black beans. It's just all wrong. It's wrong on lots of levels. Colour, mainly. Yeah, that's it. Carlin beans, carlin peas, garlands from Hodmedods, they can do no wrong. Whatever. I think those are just perfect in anything. Yeah. Yellow split peas would work well in here. Yeah, they would work really nicely. I'd cook them off and chuck them in cooked. I wouldn't be cooking them in the sauce. There's not enough liquid in there. What else? What else did I say? Aubergine and courgette, I wouldn't bother unless you were going to like quickly pan fry those and serve them on the top as like an extra thing. I'd probably do that, actually. If I was entertaining, I'd probably come up with some sort of red onion, garlic, a bit of ginger, chilies, maybe some very small cubes of courgette or aubergine, pan fry all of that, and toasted cumin seeds, and it would have to be lime or lemon juice thrown in to go, and then that's and a bit of salt and all that sort of stuff, and then I'd probably serve that on the top. That would be really nice. But just adding aubergine and courgette into this is just no, don't do that to yourself. I think those are all the ones I came up with. Pepper, you know, red pepper, green pepper, I'd have to pan fry those and get the water out of them. I've always found that those are unpleasant vegetables unless they're dealt with. I find the edges quite sharp in my mouth. I know that's a personal thing, but I don't like, I mean, raw pepper in a salad, especially if it's julienne, long thin strips, horrible. Just hits the mouth in an edgy way. No. If it's all kind of oven roasted off, that becomes much more pleasant. Mange tout, again, is too long. What you want, you see, is to just get your fork or get your spoon and maybe, you know, your cauliflower chunk nice and small, and have everything in your mouth. You want the sauce, ideally you want, you know, a few beans, you want the cauliflower chunk, and you want all of that in. That's how you need to think. Tofu, I'd cook that off first, you know, oven roast it or whatever, dry that off, firm tofu. I personally would go for the cauliflower and a chickpea because it's nice and pale and the whole dish is pale. And then you could have greenery on the side, roasted broccoli, you could have green beans on the side. You know, you could do green leaves, spinach, you know, that could be a second dish, which is a nice thing. So yes, as ever, I'm committed to making sure that you can cook, and developing skills and developing new recipes for you to practice your skills, and provide this forum for you to ask questions. So if you're watching this on replay, thanks very much. And yeah, it's been nice doing this, and let's just watch this space. So take care and bye.